Lewis, happy to be in fourth? Well, starting fourth, I should say.
Yeah, fairly happy. Just hoping the car holds together, really. We've had quite a few problems with it.
I was going to say that there's an air of lack of confidence in there. What's been happening?
We've had problems all year. I built the car at the start of the year. It was a second-hand car, and we've had problems all year. We're just starting to get them ironed out now, but we're still getting a few problems. But we're starting to get up the order, making a few better positions and such. So yeah, we're going in the right direction. It's just a learning curve with it all and getting it right.
Excellent stuff. So is it a case of investing in a bigger hammer to hit it with?
I think it's fine-tuning more than using a bigger hammer. It's fine-tuning.
Excellent. Best of luck from starting in fourth position. That is car 24, Lewis Smith for the Upminster Panelcraft car. Now look at this fine beast. Here we have car number 49. This is Ruben Taylor in the sole Peugeot, I believe. Oh no, there's a couple of Peugeots. The Peugeot 2 is 6 shape. We might. We'll give you a break in which case he's got the ear defenders in, so he may actually struggle to hear us. We'll move on. In which case we'll move on to the next Tigra in the line, which is number 196, which is Dave York. It looks cosy in there.
Yep, nice and cosy.
So here you are starting in. Where are you? Your sixth position. Oh, so are you confident on moving forward?
Hopefully, yeah. We moved forward in the last race, so hopefully we'll try and do that again.
Good stuff. Right, literally just as I asked the question, the gates open, the engines roar. So for the second time in this weekend, we will see the Southern Intermarques, the Silhouette Series, take to the track. So it's time to hand over to Scott in the commentary box.
Thank you very much, Chris. Definitely looking forward to this one. They put on a great show earlier on, and it is now time for our second race of the weekend, of the day, for the CMMC Southern Avon Tyres Intermarque Silhouette Series. These are pretty much space frame race cars with familiar sort of coupe, saloon and hatchback body shapes on them. Very much akin or very similar to the kind of cars that you would find racing on the short ovals in the popular National Hot Rod series these days, of course. I usually refer to them as essentially National Hot Rod cars with windscreens that run on longer circuits. I know there were some, as I said a couple of times already this weekend, some short oval enthusiasts or hot rod enthusiasts were probably clawing at the screen or clawing at themselves, going, that's not exactly how they are totally. And nevertheless, they are a very similar elk, so to speak, and they're very similar, if not very much similarly inspired. So the cars then make their way out onto the grid. There will be another rolling start for another 15 minutes of action. And looks like the grid is partially reversed. It's a partially reversed grid. The top 9 from race 1 have been reversed, so the top 9 finishers have now been inverted on the grid for race 2. And that means that we have one of the ever popular Vauxhall Tigra chassis shapes, alongside the sole Mitsubishi Colt on the front of the grid as well. So it looks to me we've got Colin Smith on pole position in car 491. Alongside him will be Philip Young. In fact, we can take you through how they line up right now. So Colin Smith then lines up in pole position after finishing 9th in race 1. So he drew the ball to move up to 9th. Philip Young alongside him. Then Mike Furley's Ginetta alongside Lewis Smith in his Vauxhall Tigra. Then Ruben Taylor in the Peugeot. Dave York in his Vauxhall. Then it's Mercedes and Vauxhall of Daniel Smith and Malcolm Blackman. And then race 1 winner from earlier on in 9th place, Ray Harris back in his Ginetta. He starts 9th alongside Philip Spinks in his Vauxhall Tigra to round off the top 10. 6th row of the grid sees Nigel Beardsmore and Ian Hales. Nigel Beardsmore starting 11th in his Mercedes, and the Vauxhall for Ian Hales in 12th. And it's 13th for Steve Burrows, who was looking pretty strong, but fortunately couldn't make it to the end with mechanical problems. Danny Smith also retired, getting through some of the retirements and disqualification towards the end of the race as well. So 15th place for Richard Smith, 16th for John Stewart, 17th place for Philip Blackford, and 18th place for John Price. And then that rounds out the grid of our 18-car field here at Snetterton. So, following along the runyourfleet.com Jaguar BRSCC safety car. Field makes its way around. There is our race 1 winner, the superb looking Ginetta G40R silhouette bodied race car of Ray Harris. So the cars make their way through. They are quite awesome machines. They've got quite small wheels and quite small. They run Avon slick tyres. They do run the slicks or wets, but they're quite small tyres, right? They're about sort of roughly 13-inch tyres, I think, on these cars, a little bit bigger. But the space frame chassis on them means that you can, within reason, put any kind of body that you want, and usually you look for the most aerodynamic and aero-efficient body shape that you want to use. So that includes the likes of course, the Vauxhall Tigra, of which there are no less than 11 on the grid. You've also got the ever-popular Mercedes SLK. You've also got a couple of those the newer shaped Ginettas. You also have there is also the VW Corrado in the grid. That's Mick Robertson's evergreen VW Corrado, and there are also, of course, a couple of the Mitsubishi Colt, as well as other more unique machines on the grid as well. I have seen other national hot rod cars of the sim and the elk, including a really lovely looking wide body Ford Fiesta, one of the more modern Mark 7 and Mark 8 forms. So it's good to see them. So the cars then make their way around what is a lovely sort of late Sunday afternoon autumnal sunset that was similar to what we had yesterday. Not quite as golden skies as we had yesterday, but still brighter blue skies in the afternoon. It's roughly about 4:45 in the afternoon at the moment now. And I know yesterday we were finishing up as late as around about roughly. Well, it was late. It was earlier than this a little bit, and still wonderful weather conditions to round off what's been quite a fascinating weekend of racing. And the Classic and Modern Motorsport Club Southern Division have brought all three of their fantastic series to come to play. So a big thank you to Richard Culverhouse and Rob Birley and everyone else involved in CMMC Southern for being part of this weekend's festivities, and looking forward to hopefully welcoming them to a few more meetings next year throughout the course of 2022. So the cars then start to form up 2 by 2 in rolling start formation. And of course, the runyourfleet.com Jaguar BRSCC safety car will then peel off into the pit lane. Lights are already off on top of the safety car. It will be down to the front pair of the Vauxhall Tigra of Colin Smith and the Mitsubishi Colt of Philip Young to control the pace, and then on the rolling start they'll be looking to the lighting gantry. Once the lights go out, they can put the foot to the floor, but of course no overtaking until they get across the start and finish line, and then the race is on for 15 minutes of action. It's our final sprint race action, so to speak, before we get our 45-minute BRSCC Club Sport Trophy race underway. But then Colin Smith and Philip Young lead the pack out of Murray's for the final time on the rolling lap. Now they form up together, revs start to rise, speed starts to gather, momentum starts to build, and now we get to cross the line in the CMMC Intermarque silhouettes for 2021. Here across the line they go, so that's out, and we're racing here at Snetterton. Already 3 abreast in the mid-pack down towards turn 1. There's Ray Harris peeking out on the inside line. Ruben Taylor with a big dive for trying to get 3rd place on the inside. Ray Harris is already up from about roughly 7th or 8th down to 4th. Now there's contact. Round goes car 6. That was Nick Phillips, Spinks and Ian Hales making contact. Spinks is the one that tagged Hales. Round went the number 6 and the round he went. Now, for the lead, Lewis Smith is through. Colin Smith is in 2nd place, and Ray Harris is already up to 3rd. There goes the 16 car Steve Burrows already getting past Philip Spinks, who got caught up in that contact with Hales at Ritchie's corner. But they all seem to have relatively survived roughly unscathed. But now it is a Smith 1-2 at the front, so it's the Mercedes of Lewis Smith in the lead. It's then Colin Smith in the Tigra in 2nd place. Ray Harris in the Ginetta is 3rd. Make that 2nd now, and Colin Smith from the pole position has completely spun it away on probably cold tyres. Away he goes from Agassini and gets swiftly passed by just about everyone. He gets assaulted by a cacophony of Mercedes SLKs, but gets back underway roughly around the top 10. So let's try and shake this one out, because there's been quite a bit of activity in these first couple of laps. So now Ray Harris leads. It's now looks like Daniel Smith in 2nd place. Malcolm Blackman's at it again, up the inside of Ruben Taylor, and the poor Mitsubishi Colt of Philip Young has been shuffled down to about 8th or 9th place already. So got some work to do to try and make a few more spots. There's 175. That's John Stewart, who was sadly disqualified from the first race, but he's now going to try and make his way up a few more places from the back of the grid. So out through the complex for the first time. So Smith. So Lewis Smith still leads. It's Smith from Harris, then Daniel Smith. Big wiggle for the 196 there. That was once it was Dave York, and through him goes Steve Burrows. Steve, of course, had to retire on the closing stages of the first race due to some kind of mechanical issue. managed to make up for that now with a strong start. He was back in 13th on the grid. He's about 6th at the end of this first lap. So a strong opening tour for Steve Burrows. Across the line come the leaders at the end of lap 1. And it's Lewis Smith who leads. Harris 2nd, Daniel Smith 3rd, Blackman 4th. It's then Taylor in 5th position. Burrows is up to 6th from 13th on the grid. York 7th, Young 8th, Hales 9th. So Hales actually survives after that contact to pick up 9th place. At the end of the opening lap. As Daniel Smith went a little deep into the hairpin there, Wilson tried to chase after Ray Harris, and he knows that he's got Malcolm Blackman trying to close him down here as they come out of the hairpin. Now towards Palmer. And as they come out of it, and now down towards the hairpin here at Agostini. Harris now not being allowed to get away as quickly as he was before, maybe because he's tails up trying to catch Lewis Smith. He's got one Smith in front of him, one behind him, and a rather feisty Malcolm Blackman chasing them all down. Watch out for the red Vauxhall at the back of this leading quartet. As I say, then we've got Taylor in 5th position. So Ruben Taylor in the black and fluorescent yellow Peugeot 206 doing well. It's nice to see kind of essentially 5 different manufacturers represented in the first 5 places. You've got Mercedes, Ginetta, Vauxhall and Peugeot. There is well, it should have been Steve Burrows, but I think that's actually Dave York. So what's happened to Steve Burrows? I think he was up there in P6 getting past Dave, so unless he's had a bit of a tangle again. Daniel Smith very sideways on the exit of Nelson there as he keeps up the pursuit of Ray Harris as they run through the right-hander. Up through the bomb hole, now through Coram. This long, almost never-ending right-hander. Just hugged the inside line to get the car stopped. Ray Harris maybe sort of slowing up a bit sooner than Daniel Smith was expecting, and it also caught Malcolm Blackman up in there as well. And I think Daniel Smith either just didn't get the momentum or missed a shift somewhere, but he's now going to drop back behind Malcolm Blackman by the looks of it. Blackman got a better exit off the corner. He's up to 3rd now. Lewis Smith takes the fastest lap of the race and the first proper flying lap at the end of lap 2. So 2 minutes 2.278 for Lewis Smith. There's the top 4 as it was. It's still, Steve Burrows has either had a spin of some kind, or he's hit trouble again, unfortunately, because he hasn't come through yet. He was as high as 6th position on the road when we saw him pass Dave York. But now you can see the sun sort of sitting a bit lower, and kind of the shadows starting to lengthen now on these later autumnal days. Back in the pack as we sweep around and have a look at where our leaders are currently at the moment. There is Harris. Harris, that really beautiful looking Ginetta. Of course, you see plenty of the Ginetta G40s in their regular shape, competing in the GT5 Challenge or G40 Cup, or even the Ginetta Juniors, and you see others crop up in places like Britcar as well. But it's just nice to see the Ginetta brand being represented somewhere a little bit different. And it's got to bring in a slightly more contemporary shape to kind of not just, I guess, Intermarque silhouette racing, but also in some cases the national hot rod racing, given the fact that these cars are very heavily inspired, if not very, very much identical to those cars that you find on the circuits. In through the right-hander, up through Coram again. Lewis Smith still holding the advantage about 3 seconds. I think Harris possibly slows a little bit more into that corner than others do, in order to try and get a better and earlier run off the throttle, to be able to kind of use more of the throttle through the corner in order to get a better run onto the long straight, because it looks as though he kind of catches Blackman and Co a little bit off guard, as though Blackman has a peek up the inside to look for 2nd place. But just on the straight, that Ginetta chassis has got a bit better just grip and go out of the corners, slower corners. Seems to just serve Ray Harris well. A little twitch there as he continues to put the pressure on. A little further back. This is the Colt of the front row sitting Colt of Philip Young. He's having a battle with Spinks and the 3 Vauxhall Tigras of Spinks, York and Colin Smith. That'll be Spinks, Dave York and fellow front row man Colin Smith. He's recovering after his spin up at the Agostini hairpin. Oh, and that's Lewis Smith. No, sorry, forgive me. I'll jump. It is a Smith, but it's not Lewis Smith. I think it's Richard Smith. So, and there's another car that's faltering. That's car 6. That's Ian Hales. That's the car that got tagged into a spin by Spinks at the first corner. So sadly, that car's expired. It's 3 abreast down into the right-hander, and the car that was slowing up initially there was number 4, Richard Smith. So there were so many Smiths in the field. There are 5 drivers named Smith, which is Daniel, Danny, Richard, Lewis, and Colin. And I don't believe they're all related, but I think quite a few of them are. So we'll have to go with kind of what my memory remembers. As there goes Spinks on York, so Young on York. Oh, I think that's cut again. Too many of us. Yes, that's Young on York. There, I'll get it right. It's York on Young, and York is repassing Young now to try and get back 3 in the Vauxhall. I'm getting tongue-tied going through all these Smiths and drivers with Y in their surname. These 4 cars all together then, so Young, York, Spinks and Smith. So it is York in front in the Vauxhall Tigra, then it's York, then it's Young. Oh, where did the... Oh, there it is. I wonder where the Vauxhall disappeared to, but Dave York just exits stage right for the moment, over the grass, and they managed to amble back onto the circuit. I think I must have simply just outbraked himself, ran wide and got onto the slightly damp grass. I'm sure there's still a little bit damp, if not possibly completely dry by now. So back into position goes for the Young. And then we have Colin Smith being chased down by Philip Spinks. They're still battling over 6th, 7th and 8th. Excuse me. So that battle continues on. Still 6 minutes to go in this race. Still Lewis Smith leading in the Mercedes SLK by 1.6 seconds. And it's Ray Harris in 2nd place, Malcolm Blackman 3rd, Daniel Smith in 4th. Here is our battle for 2nd. Heading into Hamilton. Ruben Taylor in 5th. There's car 59. That's another one of our... That's Nigel Beardsmore in his Mercedes SLK. There's Harris and Blackman continue to run in tandem. Down the back straight they go. And they're still keeping Lewis Smith in check. He's not being allowed to get away too much. Last lap time by, Lewis Smith did a 2 minutes 4.0 compared to 2 minute 2.2 for both Harris and Blackman. So the lead that Lewis Smith had starting to evaporate a bit here in the second half of the race. Ray Harris just pulling a little bit more of a gap on Blackman this time through that section of the circuit. As Lewis Smith brings the Mercedes SLK silhouette through Murray's, faced down by the Ginetta and the Vauxhall. You can see, looking at the natural shape of the Vauxhall Tigra, why so many choose it, because it's quite a aerodynamic friendly shape. And similar with the slightly longer nose of the Mercedes. Lewis Smith now responds to the pressure from both Harris and Blackman by putting in a 2 minute 1.629. Here further back is where we had our battles that we were watching earlier on. This is now Colin Smith, who's got past Spinks, and also the pair of them have also got past Philip Young's Mitsubishi Colt, so change around between them. So Colin Smith now into that 6th position, Young 7th, so Spinks should be 7th and Young is 8th. A bit of a small transponder glitch on the timing screen there for a second. Steve Burrows, meanwhile, whatever issue he had, he's just right there. In fact, there he is, the black and blue car, number 16. Whatever problem he had that dropped him down from as high as 6th position, he is rebounding now. He's managed to pick himself up, and he's genuinely lapping about 4 or 5 seconds quicker than the cars immediately in front of him. So catching them is no problem at all. Still Lewis Smith, Harris, and then Malcolm Blackman's dropped a couple of seconds back. So not his best lap for Malcolm, whether it's just been a mistake or running wide somewhere. But the gap now between himself and Ray is a bit more than a few tenths of a second now. There's at least a couple in there. But for Lewis Smith, so he's got it relatively all under control, just slithering about to make sure he's still got temperature in those Avon slicks. Here he There's Blackman. And does that car look as though it's not at racing pace? No, it's not, is it? Because here comes Daniel Smith. So I think there's a problem developing for Malcolm Blackman there, as Lewis, so you can see, working away at the wheel there of the Mercedes SLK. But I think there's a problem developing here for Malcolm Blackman, because through's gone for third place man Daniel Smith. So it's a Mercedes Silhouette 1-3. Lewis Smith sets a new fast lap of the race again, 2 minute 1.351. And I imagine, is the Vauxhall team going to make it into the pit lane? And let's see, on the tyres, yes it is. So Malcolm Blackman then, what could have been as high as second place, is out. And so I think it's Daniel Smith. Daniel Smith's car, I can hear it outside, it's revving, either it's drive shaft or clutch or gear selection problems, but the car is revving and not giving any power. So problems for Daniel Smith as well. So two of the drivers that could have been in contention for third place have just dropped out. So now it means that Ruben Taylor now goes to third place. And potentially, I think also on top of that, we could see still Steve Burrows pick up a place as high as fourth. He's just passed the 14 car of Spinks. So that means then that he could be able to pick up a position. So Burrows is up to P6 now. That'll become P5 because now that Daniel Smith has now retired from the race with issues of his own. And now we're just waiting for him to try. The next car he's got to try and catch up. It would be the 491 car, Colin Smith, but he's apparently some 12 seconds behind that. So I doubt that's possibly going to happen at any time soon, particularly with the fact he's got not as much time left. Oops, and around goes 491. So that's now Colin Smith going for his second spin of the day at exactly the same place. So whatever I was saying about Colin Smith being far ahead of Steve Burrows has completely gone out the window, so don't pay attention to me. I'm talking absolute nonsense. Meanwhile, Ray Harris, though, has got now quite an easy second place by the looks of it, so he continues on. There's going to be one more lap. So here's Lewis Smith then. Will come across the line. Still giving chase to Lewis Smith. Or is he? Don't tell me we've lost Lewis Smith as well. Yes, we have. So Ray Harris goes through. Where's Lewis Smith? So car 24, Lewis Smith has dropped out. So three of our leading contending cars have all dropped out with mechanical issues. The only car that's left standing again is Ray Harris. So extraordinary situation in both races where towards the end, most of the front-running contender don't seem to want to finish the race. Not by choice, of course, but problems for all the cars around. But the only car that's held firm so far in both races up to this point has been Ray Harris's Ginetta. Although I'm about to probably curse that now I've said it's held up so fine at this point in time. So now second is Ruben Taylor, and I think Steve Burrows, if he can keep it out of trouble, looks though he might as well pick up third place. In fact, he has now. He's gone through in third. Philip Spinks is now up to fourth. I think even the camera crew are looking around the circuit for the Lewis Smith SLK that's pulled up on the circuit. I couldn't see it so far yet. We'll see if we can see it on our tour around with Ray Harris on the final lap here. The clock has hit 0, so this is the last lap of the race. And the crazy thing was, I was sort of thinking to myself, potentially maybe we're going to get to a scenario where only Ray Harris is left standing at the front, and ironically we have. So, right, there's yellow flags being waved, so I wonder if his car's parked down there. Yellow flags are being waved into the Bentley Straight and then into Brundle and Nelson, halfway down the Bentley Straight into Brundle and Nelson. So I possibly speculate that maybe if anyone else has stopped, he stopped down there, I think, potentially. It's quite a gap back to Ruben Taylor, some 32 seconds, so I don't think we'll see him for quite a while. There is 175 John Stewart in his Mercedes SLK. He's shot soldering on in 10th position, but as it turns out, when everyone else couldn't make their cars last to the finish, this man can. Ray Harris heads to the checkered flag, and something of a small surprise even to him, I'm sure, will pick up his second win of the day. It's a double for Ray Harris and the Ginetta in the Avon Tyres Intermarque Silhouette by the Classic and Modern Motorsport Club Southern Division. Congratulations to Ray and the Ginetta. Well done. Good job from him. I'm sure he would have enjoyed that. And a top run for the Ginetta. Now the Flagmaster's got to wave the flag for an extra of 30 seconds because this car has also stayed the course. He's going to come through in second place. I know that Chris was remarking about it being quite a remarkable machine, and whether we could hear him or not, looks to have the focusing tactic seems to have worked, because Ruben Taylor and his car both kept their heads whilst everyone else lost theirs, and it's second place for the Peugeot of Ruben Taylor. And despite his troubles earlier on and dropping back, Steve Burrows will survive and pick up third place. That's just Wolf missing out on something of a result in race in the first race earlier on before lunch. So well done to him for picking up a podium finish. Philip Spinks finishes fourth in the Vauxhall Tigra, and then we have the Philip Young Colt finishes in P5. And as for this machine, Colin Smith, despite 2 spins at exactly the same place, he does make it home unscathed in 6th. I'm sure you're thinking, phew, what a relief. Making it through. And there is... Right, that's the Richard Smith SLK, which itself is coasting round. And is that going to make the flag? I think it will, but only just. But these poor Intermarque cars are a bit temperamental, aren't they? Some of them are with the last of the course, others struggle a little bit. But Richard Smith will make it home 7th, only just. Through comes the Nigel Beardsmore car, and then in 9th position it will be 267, which is John Price. He started back in the back of the grid in 18th, and he finished in the top 10 spot, so good job from him. Stewart comes 10th. And I think if he was still running, by the looks, I think he is, but a couple of laps down, we might get Malcolm Blackman across the line to finish the race. We lost 2 of the Smiths. We lost, of course, Lewis Smith from the lead, and Daniel Smith, who also retired after his something drive related went on the car as well. But here's the provisional result. So Ray Harris then picks up his 2nd win of the day in the Ginetta G40R, and Ruben Taylor in the Peugeot, Steve Burrows in the Vauxhall, with Philip Spinks is 4th, and Philip Young, Colin Smith, Richard Smith, Nigel Beardsmore, John Price and John Stewart rounding out the top 10. And then the other cars that didn't finish, sadly, were Lewis Smith, Daniel Smith, Malcolm Blackman, who pitted after he had problems, Dave York and Ian Hales. The fastest lap of the race goes to Lewis Smith. Once again, big thank you to CMMC Southern Division, and of course not just their Super Saloons and TinTops, but their Intermarques as well for their fantastic entertainment across today. One more race today, and it's for the 45-minute pit stop endurance race, and that is for the BRSCC Club Sport Trophy. So for the final time, down to Chris in assembly as we get set for our final mini endurance race of this brilliant Snetterton weekend.